Hi, hello, everybody. I'm Justin. This is Koopa. Welcome to Koopa's Corner. And today we're gonna talk about Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank was just this past Saturday, June 7th, 2025. This is our post-show breakdown. Not only that, right, but at the end, we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw as well. Normally I would record this before Raw, but it was a really big Raw that they were advertising, so I held off, and I'm glad I did because there was a lot that happened. So we're going to go through Money in the Bank, and then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about this past Monday Night Raw. So let's start Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank, well, it opened up with the women's Money in the Bank match. Personally, I thought this was going to be the main event, right? It was filled with so much star power. The crowd was absolutely losing it for Rhea Ripley. She was the obvious favorite in the live crowd. But there was, a great showing by just about everybody, right? There was one spot where Roxanne and Julia were working together, and they tried to slam the ladder down onto Rhea. It didn't quite go as planned, right? The ladder was just, it wouldn't bend, so it didn't really work that well, but it was a really cool thought, and really aside from that, there were just tons of great spots. My one complaint with ladder matches in general, especially multi-man ladder matches like this, is oftentimes it feels like you're just going from spot to spot to spot, and it doesn't flow very well, right? And this was no exception to that, but all of the spots were really fun, really cool. There was the Devil's Kiss on top of the ladder. Stephanie Vaquer, shown very brightly here, but so did Roxanne Perez. I think, honestly, of all the newcomers, Julia was the one who left a little bit more to be desired. She definitely didn't live up to the other two, but she still looked really good in the match, and she had a ton of great moments. Rhea was, like I said, the most over person in the match by far. Alexa Bliss had a lot of really fun moments, and even Naomi. I'm not the biggest fan of Naomi. She ended up looking pretty good in the match, right? She didn't feel out of place, which a lot of times she does. But no, it was a great match. It was a great match. I think Naomi winning, while I've read a lot of people say it was like the most obvious choice, I still think it was probably the most surprising. I think she makes the least sense to have won. She's got enough of a story going on, and it's not related to the title, and I think that briefcase could have meant more for just about every other woman in the match. I think it really could have been an opportunity to elevate a Roxanne Perez and a Stephanie Vaquer, and even a Julia, but I think after SmackDown, Julia sort of setting her sights on the United States Championship, maybe we could have ruled her out a little bit more. I picked Stephanie Vaquer because she's the fastest rising star, but honestly, I think Roxanne probably could have benefited it from the most. I also think Alexa Bliss could have used this to sort of weave her way back into title contention, because once upon a time, she was a multi-time champion. She was hovering right around that title scene, and she hasn't really found a story to sink her teeth into since returning at the Royal Rumble. She's just sort of been around. And I'd really like to see Alexa Bliss a little bit more involved with the storyline. But it is what it is. Naomi has it, and, she's going to hold on to it. And, maybe Jade Cargill or Bianca Belair will eventually find themselves with a title shot, and then Naomi will insert herself there. Or she'll lose it. She'll end up putting the briefcase on the line against one of the two of them for some reason or another. Or they'll cost her cash-in, right? A couple of options to go with that. As it stands, I expect either Bianca Belair or Jade Cargill to get involved somehow, some way, some form. Next up, it was an Intercontinental Championship defense from Dirty Dom against Octagon Jr. This match was not really advertised in advance. We didn't make a prediction for it because, it wasn't advertised. Now, Octagon Jr., I think, is one of the AAA luchadors. I did not end up watching Worlds Collide. I didn't have time. I will watch it this week at some point. Definitely planning on it. I just didn't have time on Saturday. It was a little too early in the day, and I was running around doing some errands and stuff like that. Didn't get a chance to watch it. I've definitely seen all of the hype around Mr. Iguana, so I can't wait to check it out, see what that's all about. But they picked Octagon Jr. to go up against Dirty Dom. Having not watched Worlds Collide, right, and for anybody who didn't, there's the established WWE superstar and some rando, basically. So it really wasn't in doubt that Dom would retain. But yeah, it was a decent match, and I'm looking forward to see what they do with the rest of these luchadors, but there's a lot of potential here. Then we had the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria. And that one went pretty much as expected, right? Becky Lynch won. She made Lyra lift her hand up, just like the stipulation, right? Becky said, if I lose, I'll never challenge for the Intercontinental Championship again, as long as you're champion. But if I win, you've got to raise my arm in victory. So Lyra did it, but she did it a little bit, aggressively, a little bit, you could tell she was bitter about it. And, then Becky tried to get her to put the title on my waist, right? Don't just walk away. Put the title on my waist. And, ultimately, Lyra attacked Becky. We had a post-match brawl, so this feud isn't quite done yet. And we'll get a little bit more on this Monday Night Raw. So we'll get to that in a minute. Then it was the men's match. The Money in the Bank ladder match, right? Again, a little bit of a shocker that it wasn't the main event. I fully expected one of the ladder matches to main event. But, no, this was a fun match. There was a lot going on here. It was a little bit more linear than the women's match. It was a little less spot to spot to spot. But it wasn't as impressive as the women's match, in my opinion, with the stuff that they did do. This was definitely more narratively focused rather than, the physicality of it like the women's match was, which helped it differentiate it, right? So I think that was a big plus here. But we had a lot of big moments. Again, everybody kind of had their moment to shine. Seth Rollins obviously had Braun Breaker, Big Bronson Reed come out, Paul Heyman come out. They got involved, but then Solo Sikoa had, JC Mateo and Jacob Fatu come out. So we had some stuff there. We had a huge moment where Jacob Fatu finally turned on Solo Sikoa. I hate you, Solo. Big moment. Really excited to see where that storyline goes. But Jacob Fatu was just way too popular. He came in as part of the new bloodline, back up for Solo. Solo never had that kind of backing by the fans. Jacob Fatu just took off, man. He is popular, he is good, and it's exciting to see him make something of his opportunity, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, Seth freaking Rollins walked away with the briefcase, making him a 2-time Money in the Bank briefcase holder. And, we'll see when he is able to utilize that. But I think he's probably going to be able to utilize it pretty successfully, so we'll see. Then the main event was the tag team match, right? John Cena and Logan Paul versus Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. The tag team match was fine. They isolated, Jey for a while. Then Logan and Cena started to bicker, and Jey made the hot tag in. Cody came in, and it was a pretty standard, nothing special tag match. The big moment was the return of Ron the Truth Killings right at the end. Now, there's a lot of debate whether it was always planned for him to step away and then come back, or whether it was legit. They heard the fan backlash, so they brought him back in. It remains to be seen how long he'll be back, but he's back, right? And that's how they ended the event. So there's a few stories that took some logical steps. Even the ones that didn't progressed And we have come out of this event with a lot of narrative to tell, right? Sometimes it feels conclusive, and this one didn't feel that conclusive. It felt like, all right, I'm looking forward to this story, to this story, to this story, right? Which is a great way to come out of an event, right? Looking forward to what's next. Not just waiting to see what happens, but excited to see what happens because it's related to what you just saw. So they did a great job there. So yeah, all in all, not the best event that's ever happened for the WWE, but a solid Money in the Bank. If you like Money in the Bank ladder matches, check it out. If you missed it, check it out. But this was a pretty solid event. And then Monday Night Raw, they were advertising for it during the event, and they were advertising some big things. We obviously knew in advance Jey Uso versus Gunther for the world title, but we got Nikki Bella making a return, and we got a couple of opening contests for the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. So some really huge stuff that they were advertising for Monday Night Raw. And so I was like, oh, I got to wait for Raw before I make this video, my post-show video, right? Because I want to see what happens. They don't normally advertise so many big things happening at once. This year, King and Queen of the Ring are going to be done with 4 fatal 4-way matches. And we have 2 of them last night, one for the men's, one for the women's, and there's going to be 2 on Raw, 2 on SmackDown, on each for men and each for women. And we got Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, Kairi Sane, and Rhea Ripley. That was one of the fatal 4-ways, and that really advanced a lot of narrative in the Roxanne and Liv Morgan, whatever it's not quite a feud yet, but whatever story they're telling, ultimately it's probably going to lead to something big with them. But the dissolution of the Judgment Day imploding, whatever you want to call it, some huge steps in that fatal 4-way. So check that out if you missed it. But that was a great fatal 4-way match as well. The men's match was Sami Zayn. It was Braun Breaker. It was who was it? I don't remember. It was Sami Zayn won the match. I know Braun Breaker was taken out by LA Knight, making an appearance, getting a little revenge from Money in the Bank. To be honest, I don't remember the other 2. Not much else happened in the match of note, to be honest. So it was definitely a much weaker match. Nikki Bella returned to announce Evolution 2, even though she sort of spoiled it on social media and then spent the past, month, 2 months, however long it's been, backpedaling and denying it and saying she's in a movie instead. And then she comes out to announce Evolution 2. She ends up getting into a bit of a back and forth with Liv Morgan. Huge, right? Liv Morgan's such a big star. Current one half of the tag team champions. And this is really of note because it could mean one of 2 things, right? We could get a one-on-one match, Liv Morgan, Nikki Bella, right? 2 big stars. It'd be a huge one-on-one match. Sure, it's an option. This could open the door for Brie Bella to return, and that's to get the Bella Twins in a tag team championship match against Liv and Raquel. And I think that's what most people would be hoping to see. You could do a title change. You could give the Bellas together a tag team title reign. And I think that would mean a lot to them, and I think it would be really fun to see. Especially because the women's tag division, there's been a lot of releases, and most of their tag teams have been the ones to go. There's not really much of a women's tag division at the moment. So that's a natural tag team, the Bella Twins, and it injects a lot of star power to these titles and hopefully lifts them up quite a bit, right? Now, the thing is, how much time and attention does the division get after that? Because it doesn't feel like much. It feels like the Bellas will hold them for a little while, probably not too long, because their returns are probably not going to be like a full-time return. So they'll hold the tag titles for a little bit, and then they'll lose them to another makeshift team that's not really a team and doesn't really belong together. They just had 2 people they didn't know what to do with, so they threw them together. Unfortunately, that's been how the division feels most of the time. And then the big world title match, Jey Uso versus the Ring General, Gunther. And Gunther won his World Heavyweight Championship back. Personally, I'm a huge fan of Gunther. I'm excited to see him take the title back. I think that Jey Uso is a lot of fun. I don't know that I necessarily bought into him as a world champion. However, this match was much better than their match at WrestleMania. They told a very coherent story all the way through. They had some false finishes, the audience was buying into everything. This was a really well done match. This may have been Jey Uso's best match ever. I'm not even being facetious or hyperbolic at all. I think this may have been Jey Uso's best match ever. Right? Where Jey Uso shines is not necessarily with his in-ring. Right? But Gunther finally got a really good match out of him. So that was a great high to end on for Jey Uso. And I'm sure his narrative isn't done yet, as him and Gunther will probably run it back at least one more time. But personally, I'm a big fan of Gunther. That was a huge title change on Raw, and whereas on the PLE, it was just a tag match, random tag match. They didn't even have a title defense. So huge, absolutely huge. Now, guys, let me know in the comments. Did you think Raw was bigger or Money in the Bank was bigger? And how do you feel about the World Heavyweight title change? That's specifically what I want to know. You can talk about anything. I'm happy to engage. I'm happy to discuss. Let's chat, right? But specifically, I want to know, how did you feel about the world title change? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.